Oh, hey everybody. Once again, Sintax77 here. Just doing another weekly update video. We're trying to kind of getting into the groove here. Basically figuring out that I'll pretty much use these every week to answer questions that frequently come up, get asked on my channel and comments sections and stuff like that. At least that's where I'm at with it right now. Throwing some weekly updates here and there, but for the most part it'll be kind of frequently asked questions, I think, is what we're going to do with these. Plus I've come up with the clever name of SinChats, so can't go wrong with that. I mean, the name alone is worth it, so I'm going to keep it going. Now this week I often get asked, hey, I see you have a Spot Messenger, do you like it? I've heard there's reliability problems. Well, I do have a Spot Messenger, but that wasn't the question, right? Because it's right here and it's in the videos. And do I have reliability issues with it? No, personally I don't. I have not. I've never really read of other users with the Gen 3 having issues as well. And I should point that out. I have the Gen 3, I never owned the Gen 2, so I don't have any experience with either. Oh my god, this car is hot. Hold on. Whew. I'm gonna be all sweaty on film. Which, by the way, I'm sure plenty of you are thoroughly confused who are newer to the channel, or just in general. You know, like, I thought I subscribed to an outdoor channel and suddenly there's a strange guy in business casual talking in his car, but sorry, that's just how it goes on my break here. Anyway, so back to the Spot. The Spot, I have the Gen 3, don't have the Gen 2. I will say that when I've read up on it, I see most of the reliability issue things come up with the Gen 2. And you can still buy both, which I'll get into in a minute, the reason, the differences. But that being said, the Gen 2, from what I've seen, has those reliability complaints here and there. Gen 3, not so much, and I've never had any issues. Now, at first glance, you would say maybe that's because the Gen 3 is so much better, but the other half of the equation is their satellite system in the sky. So I don't know if they've made improvements with the Gen 3 or if they've just improved their whole infrastructure in general. Maybe they have. Maybe Gen 2 users can chime in and say if they've had any improvements over the years. But for me, no, this thing works great. And I'll give you a little overview because people ask as well. I'll have to do a full video one of these days or years or whatever, but since I'm here, I might as well talk about it. So basically all you do to turn this sucker on is it has a power button, and hold it down, starts blinking, and once it stops, real simple, at this point it is on, power, blinks, it's going to constantly blink green, then it's on, see that? And then there's the GPS light. Now that won't be lit unless there's a problem. If it blinks green, it means it's acquiring signal. It might be doing that now. No, it's actually got a lock already. If it blinks green, it pretty much means hey, I just booted up, I'm looking for a signal. Or if you start randomly seeing a blinking green light, that probably means the signal's getting a little spotty and you might want to move it just preemptively. And then if that blinks red, the GPS light, then there's a no lock at all, so you better move that thing because it's not sending messages. There's a message sent light there that will blink if I send a message. And speaking of that, this is not a Spot, what is it, Messenger? This just does pre-programmed messages. There's an OK button here, and then there's a custom button there, and a tracking button. So the OK button, I can program a message to go along with it, but I hold that button down, it will eventually blink green, hopefully. Yeah, there we go. So now an OK message was sent, and I have a program just to my wife, really, that says, hey, everything's going great. And then it sends her an email with a link to the satellite, so she can click on it, goes right to Google Maps, shows her where I am on the map in the world, gives her my latitude and longitude, and then also that message, whatever you want it to say. You go on the website and set it in advance. And then there's a second one that I personally programmed to say, hey, this is where I'm going to camp for tonight. So I only use that secondary button whenever I'm at camp. You can do whatever you want. You could have it say, hey, I just had lunch, it was great. It doesn't seem that useful, but you could do that. Or every time, I don't know, you're on a boating trip or something, and every time you do something boaty, you press that button and it says, hey, I just did something boaty. So you can do whatever you want, but basically you have two messages to send. You can't just like click out text messages. You can't receive any messages on this either. But that's that's honestly the most use I get out of these, is sending messages to my wife just to let her know everything's okay and let her know where I'm camping. The SOS function is usually the first thing people think of when they buy these, or their wife tells them they should buy one for several years and you finally give in and do it. But really, honestly, yeah, it'll be great if I ever need that. Hopefully life-saving, life-changing. But really, I like the ability to send those little okay messages because I'm often in areas without cell phone reception. Also, another cool thing is the tracking. I hold that down and it will set, pardon me, it'll send messages at regular intervals. By default, if you get the basic package, it is 15 bucks a month, by the way. Just throwing that out there. Probably should have said that. You buy the unit, then it's 15 bucks a month. So the basic package for that price is every 10 minutes it'll send a little ping, and your loved one, friend, whatever, can go to a special page set up by Spot. You can email them a link in advance. Hey, here's my adventure page, and they'll go there and it'll show little pings of where you are, where you've been. Another cool feature of the website and using the constant tracking is that after your trip you can go back on the website yourself and you can kind of see everything you did. And so even if you're not carrying a traditional GPS, you can go back on the website and you can see where you might have stopped, you know, because you can tell if there's a bunch of tracks in one area, and you can just kind of make notations of where things were for future trips or use, or just for your own interest, you know, how long it took you to get from point A to point B, or whatever the case may be. So that's pretty interesting. But I will point out that after 30 days that data goes away. So you want to get in there. You do have the ability to save it and I think export it to like Google Maps or something like that. But after 30 days it will lapse, but that is a cool feature. On the basic one, it's every 10 minutes, and I believe it turns off after 24 hours, so you'd have to reset it. I personally pay an extra $5 a month because I really wanted to test this thing out, and I've just kept it. Continues to be terribly hot in here. Not the best studio for heat. But anyway, I paid a little bit more, the $5 extra a month, so I'm paying around 20 bucks a month, and what that gives me is the ability to change it anywhere from 5, 10, 15, 30, or every hour. So obviously the more battery savings would be if you only have it go every hour. I, just to test things out, went all the way with 5-minute intervals, and that's all I've ever used this thing on, and I've never had any battery problems with this. You can see, oh, I thought the GPS light came on. It didn't. Anyway, I never had battery problems with this. It takes 4 lithium ion, like the Lithium Ultimates by Energizer. I can't tell you how many times I've changed these batteries, and never because it actually died, just because I'm like, it's probably time to change these. I often carry a spare set just in case, but multiple trips for anywhere from 2 to 5 days in everything from summer weather to moderate winter, 30 degrees, to below 0, and this thing keeps ticking, and so battery life is awesome, and apparently that's one of the things they upgraded since the Gen 2. So I can really speak for the battery life on this. Now, going back to why you might get a Gen 2, this costs 150 bucks, and the service is going to be at least around 200 bucks a year, or 15 to 20 bucks a month. The Gen 2, you can get it for $99, and the service is only 99 bucks a year, so it's about half the cost. But you only can do that basic service where you get the tracking at 10-minute intervals, and you have to reset it every 24 hours. Okay, so with the Gen 3 you have the ability to go a little further, plus it does seem to have better reliability. I've heard some iffy things about the buttons on the Gen 2. I can't speak to that, but I've never had problems with the buttons on mine. And what else can I say? That's about it. There's also a car service package you can pay for. I didn't do that, but you would press that and it's almost like AAA comes to get you, I guess. Or if you don't have that, you can actually program that with another message. It's kind of like a "oh no, things are going wrong" button, but it doesn't send an SOS. It sends to whoever's on your contact list, things aren't right, and every 10 minutes it sends that again and again until you turn it off. So maybe they have an opportunity to feel things out themselves without, you know, calling in the helicopters. Speaking of that, on the website, I'm just throwing everything out I can think of. On the website, you can go on there and you choose email contacts. I don't know if there's a limit. I've never found it. You can choose multiple emails, and then every time you press these buttons, it goes to them. And like I said, you can set up your what your messages are and stuff like that. It is waterproof. IPX7 up to, I think, a meter for half an hour or something like that. I've taken this on canoe trips, and it's been in the bottom of the canoe getting wet. It's been rained on a ton, and no problems with functionality, so I can vouch for the water resistance of this quite so. I always keep it on the top of my pack, kind of like that, so it's facing the sky. That works fine, but it did just remind me of something to warn you about. One feature I'm not too hot on is the fact that after an hour of inactivity, there's a motion sensor in here, a vibration sensor. After an hour of inactivity, it will shut itself off to save battery. But again, those batteries seem to last forever, so I could care less about that. The downside of that is if you take a long lunch break or something, and I have, then I get up and I just go, and then like miles later I look down and it's off because you have to manually turn it back on. So don't get confused. It does have a feature on here that automatically turns itself on and off when it doesn't sense vibration, but that's only on like after 5 minutes of that inactivity. It'll stop tracking, and then it moves again, it'll start tracking again. But if there's no moving for an hour, it shuts down completely, and I find that a bit annoying. So just something to look out for. I've gotten in the habit now that anytime I take a break, even if it's only expected to be for like 10 minutes, I'm just in the habit of going by. I kind of nudge the pack, just keep the thing alive, and I usually double check it, try to double check it before I start moving again. All right, so that's all there is to that. Where did we start with this? I think you asked about reliability. A few of you did. That was before this whole spiel. So yes, I think it's reliable, and I do really like the service. Just be aware it is going to cost you a couple dollars, but your wife or significant other will probably love you for it. And yeah, I never really like sent a message and it's not gone through. Now I can't say I've sat down and looked at every 5-minute ping and been like, oh, there's one missing. So maybe there are, but for the most part it works great. And oh, one other thing I'm going to throw out there, and then we'll be done with this. Be aware, there's no indication on here. If you set it up with your credit card, you might pay for a year in advance. I did the month to month automatically, just hits my credit card. Unfortunately, at some point, my fault, they sent me an email and I missed it. It said we need to renew your credit card information. The card was fine, but all of a sudden, I guess they wanted the security code off the back, which they hadn't required before, you know, that little 3-digit code. I missed that email. I went on a trip, I forget which one. And I'm sending messages the whole time. All the buttons are acting the same, the lights are acting the same. I'm getting that green thing that says the message went through. But none of it's being relayed because apparently my bill wasn't paid. And I had no way of knowing that. Now, fortunately, it was on a trip where I did manage to get some self-service at one point, and I sent a text message to my wife, and she mentioned, hey, I'm not getting those messages. So I was like, oh, something's wrong. But luckily, I was able to send a message so she didn't get too worried that the device was apparently not updating her, tracking, or sending messages. Like I said, I went home, it turned out to be a credit card issue, and I just went on there and I put in whatever updated info they needed, and everything was fine. But just be aware of that. If something's wrong, if you get issued a new credit card or your credit card on file expires, you're not going to be able to tell that from looking at this. They will shut off your service, and you'll think you're all fine and nothing's really happening. So, whew, all right. I think I'm done talking for now about the Spot Gen3. I'm going to get the air conditioner back on so I can cool down here. And, yep, that's pretty much it. So until next time, have fun out there. I'm Sintax77.